Welcome back to English Unfolded, where we unfold English together. So, today we'll study the second poem 2.2 Indian Weavers, which is written by Sarojini Naidu. Sarojini Naidu was an Indian freedom fighter and she was a poet also. Most of her poems were about patriotism and the Indian freedom struggle, but this one is a little different. This poem is different from patriotism because it indicates the life cycle or the philosophy of life. And it's a very short poem about three stanzas and three different garments, and each garment represents a different stage of life. So, Sarojini Naidu, one by one, takes us through the different stages of life. First, when a newborn baby is born, that is childhood. Second is young age, and that is adulthood. And the third is death. The colors mentioned in the stanzas are also very significant because every color tells you something about the phase of life. So let us start with the poem now. Okay, so you know that everything that highlighted here is will be there in the PDF that I provide you, the meaning and the usage. So Indian weavers. Now, who are weavers? Weavers, many people know, a person who weaves fabric. But what is weaving? The craft or action of forming a fabric by interlacing threads. So when you make a fabric out of threads, that is weaving. So can you see the man is working on a in a loom, that is in a mill, to make fabric. So that is the work of a weaver. So basically, every time, like in every stanza, the poet is asking the weavers. So the first two lines of every stanza is a question by the poet to the weaver, and the next two lines is the answer given by the weaver. Okay, so let us start. Weavers weaving at break of day. Why do you weave a garment so gay? Blue as the wing of a halcyon wild, we weave the robes of a newborn child. So, the poet is asking that weavers weaving at break of day. What is break of day? Break of day means the time of day when sunlight first begins to appear. That is dawn. That is early morning. So, the poet is asking very curiously to the weavers, what are you weaving at the break of day? Why are you weaving? Why do you start your work so early, and what are you weaving? Why do you weave a garment so gay? Garment means a cloth or something that is used to wear. Now, gay here means light-hearted and carefree and happy and cheerful. What do you weave? Why do you weave a garment so gay? Why do you weaving a garment that is so very cheerful, that is so very happy? And then now the weavers are giving the answer to this. Blue as the wing of a halcyon wild. What is a halcyon? Here it's written kingfisher, a bird with bright, colorful plumes. Now you want to see the blue color of a halcyon? See this. So the blue color of the halcyon is, so the garment is as blue as the color of the halcyon bird. We weave the robes of a newborn child. What is robe? Robe means a cloth, a loose outer garment reaching to the ankles. So for the newborn child, they are weaving robes. Now the color which is your blue, this color blue indicates the beginning of life. Okay, and this entire paragraph uh, indicates the first phase of life, that is newborn child, and the happiness the garment is so happy and cheerful. And why is they are so happy and cheerful? Happy and cheerful because a new life is coming to earth. So the mood related to newborn child is the mood depicted here. We move on to the next paragraph. Weavers weaving at fall of night. Why do you weave a garment so bright? What do you mean fall of bright? Fall of night, sorry. Fall of night means the time of day immediately following sunset. So just after sunset, when it is dark and it's going to be dark, and it's after the sunset. Okay. Why do you weave a garment so bright? So the poet is asking again, why are you weaving a garment that is so very bright? Then the weavers say, like the plumes of a peacock. What is plumes? It means feathers. Okay. Purple and green. We weave the marriage wheels of a queen. Now, the plumes of a peacock. Plumes of a peacock means feathers of a peacock. So plumes means feathers, and they are weaving the marriage wheels of a queen. Now, what is a marriage wheel? Can you see here? The bride is wearing a wheel. So wheel is an article, clothing or hanging cloth that is intended to cover some part of the head or face. So it is worn on the head in marriages. So the weavers are again weaving a garment that is so very bright because they are weaving the wheel of a queen. So that means that they are weaving something for the marriage that is a very happy occasion, and that's why here it's mentioned the garment is very bright. Now the colors purple and green. Now there is a very deep meaning for this. The purple means the young age, like when someone is really young. So the energy, the royalty, or the carefree nature that a person could have is what the purple color shows. And the green color is when a person actually becomes mature and there are certain responsibilities on the person. So the person is not that carefree. So that age when you're not young and you're becoming mature, that's why it's the time is also fall of night. So the peak has gone, but now the person is becoming mature. That phase of life is depicted by this paragraph or the stanza. So now we move to the next stanza or the last stanza. Weavers weaving solemn and still. Solemn means serious. They are very serious. Okay. Still means quiet. They are not talking. What do you weave in the moonlight chill? Moonlight chill means it's night time. Okay. That's why the light of the moon is there. White as a feather and white as a cloud. White as a feather means uh, the color of the garment is white as the feather is white, and white as a cloud. We weave a dead man's funeral shroud. What is shroud? Shroud means a length of cloth or an enveloping garment in which a dead person is wrapped for burial. Okay, so here also, for the first time in the poem, the nature of the weaver is expressed. Now the weavers are solemn and still, they're very serious, they're very quiet. And why are they quiet? Because they are weaving the shroud for someone's funeral, for someone has gone. So they are paying respect to that person, to the last phase of life, and that is death. What do you weave in the moonlight chill? So the time has gone, the life cycle has passed, and that's why the time is also the time has finished, the day has finished, the life has come to an end. White as a feather and white as a cloud. Now here both the words feather and cloud, they also are connected with this phase of life. How feather means that after life has gone from the person, the person's body has become very light, as a feather. There's no weight in the body. There's no soul in the body. And cloud means something that is high in the sky and which is near to God. So now the person is not with us, the person is away, the person is near to God. So this is also a meaning to this sentence. We weave a dead man's funeral shroud. So now we come to, so the poem is a very good poem, and now we come to poetic devices. Now first we discuss the rhyming scheme. So rhyming scheme, you just check the last words. So day, gay, wild and child. So it is A B B. Now you will notice that for the entire poem it is the same. So the rhyming scheme of the poem is A B B. Second, now we'll discuss the figures of speech. Now figures of speech is very important because they help you to read a poem beyond the words. Okay, they actually get you to the meaning, okay, the deep meaning of a poem. So in this PDF I have given you all the figures of speech which are there in this poem. So here I'll explain you the meaning of the figure of speech, and I'll tell you which all are examples from the poem. So the very first is simile. Simile means direct comparison. Now how can I say that it is direct comparison? Because I can see it with the words which are like or as. Okay, like and as are the words which are there. Now it compares two different things, okay, which are similar, and that's why we compare them. Now similes and metaphors are confused with each other, so the only thing that separates them, because this is direct comparison, that metaphor is indirect comparison. So in simile you will always find words like or as. So in this poem we have two examples of simile, or rather three, one from each stanza. The very first is blue as the wing of a halcyon wild. So what is compared to what? The blue color of the halcyon bird is directly compared to the blue color of the child's garment. Okay. Second is like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green. This is simile. Okay, the color of the plumes of the peacock is compared to the color of the garment. Okay, and the third example of simile is white as a feather and white as a cloud. Actually these are two, white as a feather and white as a cloud, but okay. Then the next is metaphor. Okay, so these are the three examples. Metaphor means indirect comparison. Now what is this indirect comparison? We can't see it. So a metaphor is a figure of speech containing an implied comparison. So there is comparison, but you will not see any words like or as. With metaphors, words or phrases that are ordinarily applied to one thing are applied to something you wouldn't necessarily pair it with. Which means, suppose I say the a very famous example is the ship of the desert. Ship of the desert is camel. So this is a metaphor. I'm indirectly comparing them. So the very first example here is break of day. So we'll go to the sentence. Wait. Yeah. Weavers weaving at break of day. So the break of day, the morning time of the day is compared to the initial phase of life, that is birth. So that is a metaphor. Okay. Second, fall of night. Again, the fall of night, the time of fall of night, or the time of dawn is compared to the young or adulthood of a person. So that is also a metaphor. Then the last metaphor example is what do you weave in the moonlight chill? So the moonlight the time of the night is compared to the time of the life cycle, which is the last phase, that is death. Now we come to the next, alliteration. Alliteration, whenever a consonant is repeated, we call it consonant sound is repeated, we call it alliteration. It is a term to describe literary device in which a series of words begin with the same consonant sound. For example, surely, cells, seashores. So, yeah, something like that. So weavers weaving, there are many examples here. The sound of W is repeated, weavers weaving. Then again, weavers weaving at fall of night, weavers weaving Solomon still, S is repeated. Then there's one more thing of repetition I've not included in the PDF, but there is one example, white as a feather and white as a cloud. So the word white is repeated 2 times for giving emphasis. Okay, why to give emphasis? For indicating the superiority and the purity of this last phase. Okay, so weavers weaving a garment so gay, so that is the sound of G repeated. Plumes of a peacock is also alliteration. Imagery, now this is the last that I'm mentioning over here. Imagery is a language used by poets, novelists and other writers to create images in mind of the reader. So the moment you read, you start imagining the scenario in your mind. So it will have a lot of what do you call it, describing words which describe places or times. So weavers weaving at the fall of night, so immediately when you read this, you know that it is night time. Okay, what do you weave in the moonlight chill? It creates scenario. Okay, so this is a little difficult, but it's not too difficult. You can identify it very easily if you practice. So this was all about the figures of speech and poetic devices. Now one more last thing that I would like to add up is the paraphrase. Now the paraphrase that I am providing you in this PDF is very important because there is a little about the author in this and the poem also. Each stanza is explained in detail, and I've explained it already, but still this is a kind of a summary that you can read, and I advise you to read it once, because if you read it and you want to revise it and you read it once, then you will never forget the poem, trust me. And you have a question appreciation of the poem, so for that also this will be very useful. Okay, so I end the video here. Hope you liked the video. Then if you liked it, make sure you like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Till then, keep learning.